Do you struggle with indecisiveness, or do you fear making the wrong decisions? I want you to stop and think about how much further you would be if every single decision you made was the right decision. Is that even possible? Well, we're going to be talking all about it in today's show. You're listening to episode 23 of
The Gold Mine Podcast.
As women, we have to invest that time in getting to understand who we are.
Be ambitious, be bold, create the life of your dreams. This is the Gold Mine Podcast with your host, Adrian Dion.
Hey, you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of the Gold Mine Podcast. I am having an amazing day today. Today is Tuesday, September 11th. And September 11th, 9/11 is a day that I think everyone will always remember. It's such a sad day that so many people lost their lives. But for me, it's also a reminder of just how precious life is and that we aren't to take it for granted, because we never know, what may happen. The people that were on their plane, the people that were in New York going to work, just having a normal day, had no idea that, that would be their last day. And so it always just reminds me to make sure I don't take life for granted, make sure that I'm not taking the people that I love that are around me for granted, and that we're here to enjoy life and enjoy it to the fullest. We don't know when our last day is going to be, so we have to make sure we are living life to the fullest. So I do take a minute each day to just think about all the families who were affected and how, there are so many people who have a story for that day. Even me, all the way in Alabama, I remember being in my 7th grade class and it coming on the news and we were all watching it. So many people were affected that day. And so if you haven't already, just take some time to think about all those people who were affected and send a prayer up for them. Send a prayer to their families for comfort and understanding and wisdom and strength to just continue on with their lives and to make the best of it. So today we are going to be talking all about making right decisions. I think that when it comes to decision making, for me, I know I lived my life really hating to make decisions just because I was scared I was going to make the wrong one and it would set me back a while, so far. And so what I found is that I would just ask everybody's opinions and I would just go with whatever somebody else told me. And if it failed, I had somebody else to blame and not myself. That is not beneficial. First of all, you're by doing that, you're living a life for other people based on what other people want for you. And that's a whole different story on how that can get so bad for you. But also, that blame is can be poisonous in our lives. And so it's no way to live. You need to be able to make the right decisions. And so it's important that how. We don't have a class in school that says, okay, this is how you make decisions. This is how you make rational decisions, or you make good decisions. So I think that's something that we skip over, but it's so important. Just think about how many decisions you make in a day. You have to decide what to eat. You decide what time to wake up. You have to decide, what route you want to take to work. If you get into traffic, you have a decision to make whether to detour or continue on the path. You make so many decisions in a day. And so even with the small decisions, it can be overwhelming, but especially those hard, life-changing decisions that we have to make that come with big consequences. It's important to know how to go about doing those things. So we're going to be talking all about that today. We are all people with goal minds. And so when it comes to reaching our goals and setting goals even, I found that the number one thing that hold people back from accomplishing and being successful is, I don't know. I don't know how to do something, or I don't know what I want to do, is the number one thing that holds people back. I want you to know and remember, if you don't hear anything else on this podcast, that when you're being indecisive about something, you are indulging in confusion. You are spending way too much time in I don't know. No matter if it's for 2 seconds or 1 second, it's too much time. The problem with staying in this place of confusion is that there is no momentum forward. And so if you're not going forward, there is no way for you to achieve the results that you want. There is, that place is not serving you. And so you need to learn how to move from a place of confusion to moving forward so that you can get the results that you want. So today we are going to be diving deeper, not only into how, but to understand what's happening, the importance of making decisions, the effects indecisiveness can have on your life. Many of you may be seeing those negative effects and not actually realizing it. So I want to make sure that you're aware of it so that you can you can know what's happening. And then I'm going to also teach you practical ways that I use when it comes to me making decisions. A lot of people, think it's just the big hard decisions. It will help with that, but it'll also help you with your day-to-day so that you're making sure that you're being true to who you are and true to the desires that you want, and that you're going to make sure you're getting the results that you really, really want. I talked about living a fulfilled life. I think it was episode 21. But in order for you to do that, your decision-making process can't be skewed. It has to be A1. It has to be on point, or you're going to find yourself with skewed results. And so I'm excited about this episode. I'm excited to share with you what I've learned. So first, let's just jump into the importance of mastering decision-making, and we'll talk about some of the effects indecisiveness has on your life. The number one reason it's so important that you make decisions is because it saves time. Staying in limbo is what costs us time, and it causes so many regrets. If you don't know if you want to have a baby, so you're just sitting there, you're contemplating, you don't know, and time is continuing to pass by. So what if by the time you do decide, okay, yes, I want to have kids, you're 45, and now the whole process is much more complicated than if you had actually sat down, made the decision, and went with it. What if you say, well, I don't know if I want to leave my job or not, and start, my business and become an entrepreneur. So then you sit at the job, you don't work on your business, and time is continuing to pass by. A lot of times we think that, if we don't make a decision, everything will just stay the same. But not making a decision is making a decision in itself. You're deciding to do nothing, and that has consequences as well. How many times do we wait on things, and then later on you say, man, I wish I had just done it from the beginning. I wish I had gone back to school. I would have been finished by now if I had done it when I first wanted to. We have so many regrets because we don't make decisions. And then when we actually do decide and we want to do the thing we first wanted to do anyway, we have a harder time doing it because we feel guilty that we've already wasted so much time. You don't have the confidence because it's like, well, what if it doesn't work out? Then I'll be wasting more time. Making decisions save us time. Another reason it's so important to make decisions is because it increases our actions. A lot of times when we don't make decisions, we'll just consume more information about whatever it is in order to make up for the fact that we haven't made a decision. And basically what we're doing is trying to trick our brain, but you're not putting content, you're not putting any type of contributions out into the world. And so here again, we go back to more time being wasted, but now you're also adding energy being wasted, effort being wasted, you spending hours and hours looking up information, or well, I don't know, I'm confused, so I'm just gonna try to figure this thing out, more research, when you could have been actually putting in action. When we make a decision, we start taking actions toward that decision, and we learn so much more just by doing. I'm sure you've heard the best way to learn how to do something is just by doing it. When we make a decision about something, it causes us to prepare and show up in a better way. The third reason it's so important for us to make decisions is because it increases our growth. That's what we're here for. That's why we're living this life, in order to grow and to evolve. Well, the way that we evolve is by expanding our experience. So how do we expand our experience? By doing, by making a decision and doing something. This is the way that we evolve. What if you never made a decision to do anything? I'm pretty sure you guys have, gone home, or if you don't live in the town you grew up in, you go back home, or you go to those old spots you used to hang out with at, and you see some of the same people there doing the same thing, sitting on the same stoop or porch, and you see that they've made a decision to do nothing. Like, they haven't made a decision to leave or to do better for themselves, and so they're still in the same spot. They haven't evolved, and neither will you if you never make decisions. The fourth reason it's so important for us to make decisions, and this one may be surprising for you, but it helps you to overcome the instant gratification that a lot of us suffer from. So when you make decisions ahead of time and then you honor it, that's how you overcome that whole primitive brain that likes that instant gratification. In other words, not getting off track because you don't feel like doing something at a certain moment. If you've made a decision and you've decided this is what I'm going to do, you leave no room for failure because you've made a decision and you're sticking with it. You won't let your emotions control you. That is where self-control comes in and discipline comes in, and instant gratification goes out the door. You all know that, it's when we don't give into that instant gratification that we actually see the results in the long term. That's when things really change, because you're being intentional with what you want, and by making a decision, you're able to create the actions that will get you the results that you want. The last reason it's so important for us to make decisions is because it increases our confidence. The way we do this is by taking action and learning what we want to keep doing, stop doing, or move towards. As soon as we make a decision and we get out of the whole I don't know stage or phase, our insecurity goes away. Think about how you feel when you're confused and you're doubting, and think about how you feel when you're decisive, when you know what you want, when you've made a decision and you back yourself up on it. Man, it feels so empowering, and it makes you feel so excited about the future. Your whole mood changes. The feeling that we have to have in order to make decisions and to follow through with them is the same feeling that creates confidence. And when you create the feelings of confidence, it makes you want to make more decisions. And the more decisions that you make, the more you increase your growth. Remember, we just talked about it. And the more you increase your growth, the more you increase your action, and the more time you save, and the more confidence you have, and your confidence is just increased. And it's just a beautiful cycle. So how do we decide? How do we get out of confusion and learn to make decisions? Well, first, I think it's super important that decisions are always made in an instant. Thinking, pondering, discussing, all of that seems unnecessary, but all it does really is prevent you from making a decision until you made a decision. People say all the time, well, it took me a month to make this decision, and, it took me, I thought about it for so long. No, really? You only made it only took you 1 minute to make the decision. Don't confuse yourself with this. So remember, the decisions that you're going to make are always made in an instant. You don't have to have a whole bunch of time and thinking and all of that to make a decision. It only takes an instant. When it comes to making a decision, the first thing you have to do is consider everything. A lot of times when we are in the process of making decisions, we have self-imposed limitations on it. So we give ourselves only 2 options, or you only come from one viewpoint. And you may not realize it, but doing it this way makes you biased. You have to take a step back and look at everything. So for example, earlier when I talked about, should I stay at this job? Well, you can't just think about, okay, if I stay at this job, then these are the results. You have to think about it from both sides. if I had to do it all over again, would I take this job again? Should I, stay in this relationship, or should I break up with my boyfriend? Should I get this divorce? Well, look at it from both sides. A lot of times we decide to do things because we've been doing it for so long. That's not a good reason to choose it. If that's the reason you're choosing it, that's not good. When you make a decision, you have to make sure you like the reason for choosing that decision. There should always be a reason for your actions. You shouldn't be doing things on autopilot. Without having a reason, you're essentially a slave. Slaves are people who don't have choices. They don't have reasons. They are just doing what they're being told to do. But you have a choice. That's the beauty of freedom. So don't enslave yourself by having just a biased viewpoint. Consider everything. The second thing when it comes to make a decision is imagine that both decisions turn out amazingly. You succeed at both of them. Which one would you choose? One reason we don't choose one thing over the other is because we kind of already played it out in our minds and anticipated failure. Or we look at the option and we say, well, I don't know how to do that. We're succumb to our own doubts about something, and so we choose the opposite. Instead, when you're trying to figure out which thing to choose, do it from a place of abundance. If I attempted both of these things and both of them really turned out exactly how I wanted, which one would I want more? I remember when I was getting ready to go on a trip recently, I had only a certain amount of money, and I was just saying, well, I don't know if I should spend the money. I had a few more things to get, like little odds and ends, and I didn't know if I really wanted to spend the money and get those things, or should I just save the money, because I didn't know how much money I was going to need when I went on my trip. And I was just like, I don't know what to do. And this principle played a big part in it. I said, okay, if I spent the money and everything turned out great, I had what I needed, I was confident, I loved the fact that I had everything I needed, I could go feeling good about it, and everything turned out good. I would also have enough money when I got on the trip, and I compared that to if I didn't spend the money, and then I just had more money when I went on the trip, but everything turned out fine, and I didn't, need to buy the things that I wanted. Which one would I choose? And I chose to spend the money because I felt good about getting the things that I wanted and being prepared and all of that. And everything worked out good. By me purchasing the things for the trip, I ended up having less money than I wanted to on my way to the trip. But the day of, I unexpectedly got a bonus at my job. And so everything worked out. And it was literally the day I left. So everything worked out. And that's how you're going to see things work out for you when you make choices and make decisions from abundance. The last thing with making decisions is that you have to take failure out of the equation. If it didn't matter if you failed at whatever it is, would you do it? What would you do? Making the decisions from that space. Remember, failure is just the way you think about something. If you choose to believe that failure is non-existent and that you're always either winning or you're learning, and which you're still winning when you're learning, then things will be so much easier. Decisions would be so much easier to make, because then you don't have that extra weighted pressure on you to make this right decision. The only thing making something a wrong decision is only you deciding that it was a wrong decision. Decide that you always make right decisions, and you will. What's for you is for you. If it's meant for you to have something, if it's meant for you to do something, there is nothing you can do to not make it happen, because it's for you. It's going to happen anyway. You have to make sure that you remember this. And then last, when you make a decision, you have to stop all other options. Begin taking actions and stick with it. Follow through with it. Now, it is okay to change your mind. I used to feel bad about this and think that, okay, if I decided, then I can't change my mind about it, which only put more extra pressure on me. But you want to make sure that the only time you change your mind about a decision that you've made is once you've taken action and you've gotten more knowledge and you've gotten an experience with it. And then you can change your mind because you feel positive about moving forward. A lot of people will make a decision, take a little bit of action, feel scared and doubt, and then they want to go back into confusion. That's not the same as making a decision, taking some action, realizing that it's not what you thought or you wanted, and you end up making another decision, not going back into confusion, but you're taking that decision based on whatever it is, and you decided to make another decision and act on that. So for example, if I said, okay, I want to do blogs. I started doing blogs, and I love to write, but it's overwhelming. It's taking up too much time. And so I say, well, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. Now that I have the experience with it, I have more knowledge about it. I say, okay, I don't want to do blogs anymore. But what I will do is a podcast, because a podcast doesn't take up so much of my time. I can pre-record it. I can write it. I like it better. I'll just do that. Notice that I didn't say I don't like to do blogs, so now I'm just not going to do anything, or I'll just wait and see what I'm going to do next. And no, you're back in confusion. And remember, confusion, when you're in that, there is no momentum forward. And so you're stagnant. You're just like the person back in your old neighborhood sitting on the same stoop, not making a decision to do nothing, you know? So it's perfectly fine to change your mind about something after you've taken action, but make sure when you're changing your mind, you're changing it with another decision to do something else. Making decisions does not have to be a stressful process. If you use these tips and these principles during your decision-making process, it's going to make things so much easier. All right, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope that you can take some of these tips that I've given you and use them practically every day. Practice making right decisions. Practice using these tips in just the normal day-to-day decisions that you make, even if it's with like, what do you want for breakfast? You know, if both decisions that both options that you have are the best, which one would you want more? Just use it practically with little small things, and then it'll help you when you get to those big things. You've already been using it, and so it'll just be, second nature for you. If you guys enjoy the show, I would love to hear your feedback. I want to know what you think about it. What's your decision-making process that you have? If it's working for you, I would love to know, because we can always learn from each other and add things that's going to help everybody evolve and grow. That's what it's all about. Make sure you hit me up. The link is will be in the show notes. And if you're not following me on social media, on Instagram, I love Instagram, but I'm on Instagram and Snapchat. I'm also on Facebook. We have a Facebook group. So I would love to have you join and reach out to me there. You can follow what I'm doing through the week. I respond to every single person on Instagram and my email. I'm not one of those people that I'm fancy. No, I respond. So if there's any question you want to ask me, even if it's not for the podcast, reach out to me. I love hearing from you guys, and I love getting your feedback. All right, guys, I hope you enjoy the rest of your week, and I look forward to talking to you next week. Bye.